if your competitors are integrating AI, they're operating and moving at such a fast pace because of the fact that they have AI on their side, whereas you don't. I feel the way I feel about AI, but how does my consumer feel about AI? How does my customer feel about AI? And that's the actual thing that you have to be thinking about. AI is not like wiping out your business. It's changing the way your business operates. The relationship is something that really AI in this current moment can't touch. How fast you integrate it will, in my opinion, be the determining factor of the success you're going to have in the next 12 months within your business. Hello, and welcome back to Ambitious. Today, we are talking actually about part 2 of things that are changing in the online space or in the online business world. This was such a requested piece of conversation and a requested topic, frankly, that we actually had to split this into 2 episodes because there is so much that has shifted and so much that has changed in the last, I want to say like year, but definitely in the last like 9 months, we have seen a lot of shifts. And so in episode 1, we covered a lot of different buckets. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about all the things that we didn't quite get to in the first part of this series, which is the changes being made to the online space. So I want to talk about a bunch of different categories: marketing, sales. We have AI coming up right after this to talk about the impact of AI and what it is that you need to know. I want to start with something that I feel like many business owners, myself included, always are looking for, which is premium buyers. And even the, label of premium buyers, some people will ask, well, like, what does that mean? What do I mean by premium buyers? Premium buyers, basically, in essence, are the people that are your ideal client who are wanting to invest and to pay the rates that you're looking to charge. And so how do we attract those people? And how do we attract, frankly, high ticket clients consistently? And what has changed about that with the changes of the online space? Has it been affected? And I would actually say that the high ticket client space has been affected. I think more than ever, people are being very selective with who it is that they invest with and intentional about why they're taking that next step. And one of the things that I am seeing is that people are really leaning into specialists over generalists when they're investing now. So they're not looking to work with somebody who's like a jack of all trades. I can do anything and everything. They want to feel like if they have a very specific problem, that you are the person who has the very specific expertise to help them to overcome that problem. So this is also why, if you are somebody, for example, who is like a freelancer, who's like, I literally can do everything, I can do anything, they're wanting to work with someone who says, hey, I will be the go-to person to help you to get this outcome or to solve this problem. And we want to feel like if we, especially in the day and age of AI, we're going to be spending with people, we want to feel like that spending is something that someone doesn't have the same level of information that we have about it. Because the reality is, with AI, information has never been more accessible. And so if there's something that even right now you're like, I don't really know a lot about this, but I feel like if I researched it, I probably could get a level of understanding about it. You don't want to be hiring or delegating to somebody or frankly spending for someone else to use AI in the same search or approach way that you're using it. You want someone who has an expertise and understanding of their industry, of their category, of their field, that you feel like, okay, yes, they may be using AI to be faster. Yes, they may be using AI to help to integrate or to execute, but you're really ultimately investing with them because you feel like they have such a lens of specificity to their understanding of their category, i.e., if you're someone who does ads, you are extremely knowledgeable about ads, and that's what I'm really buying. Or if you are someone who, for example, does SEO or AEO, I'm really investing with you, not because I can't search what keywords I should be using, but because I want your brain to help me assess the data of performance and make pivots to my strategy accordingly. That's really what people are investing into now. And so what we want to ensure is that you're positioning yourself as a specialist to say, okay, if someone's going to invest with you tomorrow, which I'm manifesting for you, if someone is going to invest with you tomorrow, I want you to ask yourself, what are you a specialist at? What is the thing that you're like, oh, I'm definitely known for blank. What is that thing? And I think it's important that we define what that is, because if you can't define it, your audience and the people consuming your marketing are also not going to be able to define it. So I think because of the specificity that they're looking for, it also means that truthfully, standards have gone up. Like this idea of just, I am someone who has general information, who can provide a general level of support. It's just not enough. The market is so saturated and there's so many options for people to choose from that I think people are being really critical of asking them a very genuine question. Why should I spend my money on this person? Why should I invest with you specifically compared to 15 or 20 other people who do exactly what it is that you do? And I think this tolerance for mediocre has really become super, super low. I think that, a couple years back when I was in this space, there was a lot of people who would do the exact same thing. And I think the perspective at that time, several years ago, was when you invested, you kind of just picked truthfully from the person that you resonated with the most. So there was kind of this understanding that there was like a general shared knowledge, a general shared understanding of what was being taught. So let's just say as a business coach, there was some kind of core pieces you knew you would learn. If you were looking to become a virtual assistant or an OBM, there was a couple different options of people that you could be working with. You kind of knew that all of them could help you get to the same promise. But the thing that really allowed you to invest with one person over the other is the fact that there was just a connection that you had with that person and their brand, which, yes, in some regards still exists today. But I think more often than not, people back then weren't critical of the shared information. Now, because shared information is accessible to the consumer, meaning the information used to just be shared between the people in that field. But now that same information is being shared with the person who's investing. So it's like, okay, I have access to this info. They have the same info as me. What am I really buying into? And what is this person going to do that the person next to them is not offering or doesn't have the expertise to provide? And so I did think there's a lot of more critical assessment of how people are investing. And I think also there is this positioning that's associated with that. So when I say specificity, specificity basically means for you as a brand, you need to make sure that you are abundantly clear within your brand and within your marketing what actually does in fact make you different. Why are you actually the obvious choice in comparison to your competitors? And if you don't know that answer, it means truthfully your audience doesn't know either, which is part of why they may not be choosing you, because they don't actually see why they should in a sea of other people who look, feel, and deliver the exact same thing that you do. So I think that there needs to also be visible ways to see your expertise. So I had somebody the other day who had said to me when she was thinking about investing, and she had said, I went through your testimonials, and she was like, I realized you have a lot of peers that don't have testimonials. And it's one thing that I feel like I've always really tried to prioritize with clients over the years. And that's because I recognize like it's really great for me as a brand to say that I am like the go-to to work with, or that I get you this great result, or I can support you in the following way, or here's how we're different. But the reality is no one trusts the business who's like, you should work with us. They trust the person who's like, you should work with them, who's the customer. And so one of the things I think is really important when it comes to marketing yourself is to also ensure that you have what's considered to be like expert signals within your marketing and within anything that you're putting out. So if you are, for example, a certain amount of clients served, if you get a certain result that most people don't, if you have a certain way in which you get people results that is really unique to you, if you have a specific perspective that really is not something people can get access to elsewhere, that's something that we want to double down on and make sure is present through anything in your marketing that people are going to consume. Because ultimately, you're really in this current stage competing on who you are and what you stand for, not on your price and not on your deliverables. And it used to be very high on price and high on deliverables. We used to be in this era where someone would go to invest into, let's just say, a mastermind, and they would see person A and their mastermind is $20,000 and person B and their mastermind was $28,000 or $30,000. And so they would look at, okay, like I get one-on-one calls here, I get one-on-one calls here. I get to learn these principles here, these principles here. There's so much of the same thing that is happening. And so, because of that, when the products look too similar or your service looks too similar to other people, the only thing that really now is that it factor of why they're choosing you is truly marketing your brand beliefs and who you are. And most importantly, what it is that you stand for. So, if you're not doing those things and you're like, well, we're the cheaper option, or we have more stuff we provide, or we like, say you're a social media agency and you think to yourself, well, we provide more posts than our competitors, or we give more calls inside of our offer. Okay, if you want to negotiate on price and deliverables alone, you can. But I'm going to be honest, it's not the thing that's helping people to invest with you. And I would actually argue that because people are so focused on getting the outcome that they want, solving their problem, establishing that desired destination, they want the person who is confident that they can actually achieve that for them. And most importantly, like we mentioned earlier, has proof that they've done that. If you are someone who can get somebody to an outcome with 2 posts a month or 2 calls a month, then great. The person beside says, well, we offer 4 calls. If I end up at the same place, it doesn't really matter. The person that people are convicted to convert with or invest with is the person that has full confidence that they can get where they want to go. And also with that, potentially the speed of how fast they can achieve it. So I say speed because I'm not asking you to market overnight results, but speed is important because think about even for yourself. You're wanting to do things now at lightning speed because of AI. You're moving so quick, very fast in the things that you're integrating. You're trying to keep up with all the changes. And so the speed of results is also not like these big, bold promises that are not true. It's more a matter of saying we are on the cutting edge of the fact that we can get you here quickly because of all the things that we're using and because of all the things that we know. So let's just say you're somebody, for example, who edits videos. If you're editing videos, like I was talking to one person that is a video editor and they need 2 weeks of production time. I was talking to another video editor and they have 72-hour production time. Now, I want you to think about this. The 72-hour, think about the consumer. The consumer says to themselves, okay, well, if I film a video within 3 days, that video can go out. Whereas the other person says, I film a video, but then 2 weeks need to wait and kind of occur and pass before I can get that video out. So for the consumer, which of the two do you think is the thing that's actually going to make their life easier, their life simpler? It's the person who's faster. Now, when we think about speed, it's because we want people to understand that they're able to get to their result quicker. So if you're looking at these two options and you're, for example, the slower option and your competitor is like, we do the same amount of production, we make you the same amount of videos, but we do it in half the time, who do you think you'd be more inclined to work with? Now, you might say, well, it depends on what their product's like. Well, what if their product's identical? Meaning that they're both great editors, they both create great work, and they both do it to the same level or quality of production, but one does it in half the time. So this is where with AI, we are experiencing this, which is what kind of the next bucket is of the changes in AI. AI is putting pressure on multiple different categories and also different ways that before we've never really experienced. So I want to kind of talk a little bit about AI specifically because I know it's the thing that everybody wants to know. What is happening with AI? What does it mean for me? And what do I need to be aware of? So AI, what has changed? In the last little bit, AI went from being something that people were using because they were trying to get ahead. They were using AI to try to just be able to use like a chat GPT search. We were using it as just like additional information. It was almost this like glamorized Google search is how for a while people were using AI. But AI is now shifting from 10% of people who were really using it. Then it became 30% of people. Then it became like my mom was using ChatGPT to look up things. And you start to see that it becomes more mainstream. I literally this morning was going to get a coffee and I heard this table of women talking about how AI was impacting their corporate job. Like, this is not a niche topic any longer. AI is not something that you can ignore and you can say, well, that's just not something that I feel like I'm into. There used to be this kind of decision where you could say like, okay, I'm just not going to use it. And you honestly could get great outcomes. But now, because so many people are integrating AI, you're kind of being pushed to use it or potentially get pushed out of your industry. And that's because if your competitors are integrating AI, they're operating and moving at such a fast pace because of the fact that they have AI on their side, whereas you don't. And I know that there's this belief that people will say, well, people love human. People really want human. And I actually agree to some extent with you that people do want human connection. They don't want to feel like their entire life is AI. They do love people to people interaction. We're seeing events are still as successful as ever. People doing in person business is still definitely something people desire. We love connection, especially post COVID. So many of us are looking for connecting with other people in like a real, authentic, deep way. But the other thing you have to also recognize is like when someone has an outcome they want, and I want you to think of yourself, like I was saying with the video editor example, if you had something that could be providing relief to you or gets you an outcome faster than you anticipated, whatever the result may be, if that's something that was possible because of AI to make the price of something you're investing into cheaper, the result happen for you and your business quicker, if the only thing that AI did was benefit you, your budget, your time, your energy, would you be upset that someone's using it? Or would you say, no, I want to spend more time? No, I want to spend more energy because I want to work with a human. Will there be 10% of people who say that? Yes. But the other 90% are saying, no, I'll take the cut in budget. No, I will take the reduction of time. No, I will take the reduction of energy because that helps me as the consumer. So this is where I will say it used to be optional to integrate AI. It's just not any longer. And so there was a study that was done actually in 2025, and it was saying by 2026, 60% of all apps on the App Store will it include in some way, shape, or form AI integration. So if you're using like a food tracking app, it will give you an assessment of where to tighten things up. I have a client who uses an app for social analytics, and it provides automatic personalized assessments for clients. I have a finance app that I was helping to launch and get out, and now it's doing AI recommendations for savings plans and managing of money and strategy around money, all rooted in this person's framework. Like, this is not okay, yeah, we're just deciding we're not going to integrate this. It's really part of what's becoming mainstream expectations. And so the businesses, the agencies, the coaches that are using AI are able to produce more in the same or less amount of time. You are able to serve more clients, typically at the same level of personalized support. And I think, which is the most important factor, you're spending time on what is actually leverageable. And I think that that's the real differentiator. Even myself, I am in a coaching program for myself. Like I believe in myself having coaches, and I'm in a coaching program, and inside they will have, for example, like a module. So something that they teach as a core principle. And then underneath, they will have an associated AI resource that has been fed that framework or fed those principles that helps you with integrating it at lightning speed. So no longer are we like sitting inside of these worksheets and we're trying to do everything manually. There is literally for every single resource pretty well inside this program, there is an associated AI that supports you with integration to do it at half the speed. So again, think about being a consumer and going into a coaching program that doesn't have any AI and everything is manual, or going into a coaching program that says not only are we going to help you build your business, but we're also going to help you to build your business in half the time because we have AI resources that are accompanied to each module. Whose program are you picking? There's a very obvious choice there. And so this is where, again, we can have this personal perspective around AI, but at the end of the day, there is kind of just this acknowledgement of you can feel any way that you want about AI with you and your particular business. But one of the things I don't think enough people, and potentially yourself, are asking is, I feel the way I feel about AI, but how does my consumer feel about AI? How does my customer feel about AI? And that's the actual thing that you have to be thinking about and that you have to be worried about. Because if you don't integrate their perspective and what they care about, you will lose their business to somebody else who is listening to what they want and who is listening to what they care about. So it means that there is this gap being created. And I'm already seeing this divide very quickly. there is the gap of the people who go, yeah, I don't really know a lot about AI. Like, it's not a huge deal for me. I don't really play with it a lot. Like, I'm not super into it. And then there's the people on the other side of the spectrum who like live and breathe AI and they're like coding on the weekends. I would love for you to fall somewhere in the middle to the coding on the weekend side. And here's my recommendation for you, because someone I actually work with, she had said, I don't know anything about AI. I was teaching something and she was like, Kate, this is like so new for me. She's like, this literally feels like a new language. And I said to her, listen, this is something that you can master. And she said, do I need to take like a course or something? Like, do I need to like go hire someone to learn this? And I just was very frank with her. If you are not someone who is accustomed to AI and you don't know squat about it, I first want to say, great. Acknowledging the fact that you don't know anything is the first step in recognizing where you need to go from there, which is AI is not really a matter of a course. In my opinion, AI is moving so quickly that if you buy a course from somebody who made that course, I don't even know, a year ago, the information they're teaching has likely already developed since the moment that they created the course. I'm less of the mindset of like hire an AI coach or consume an AI course. And I'm more in the perspective of why don't you dedicate 2 to 5 hours a week and play with AI? And I want you to use chat features, try out coding, start creating agents. Think about different ways that you can use this. And what I tell people to start with is look at the problems you're experiencing in your business. Pick 1 to 3 of those problems and go into AI and look to solve those problems strictly using AI. And just get curious. Don't feel like you have to become this like AI ninja. Go into AI and start to play with it, because I think many have this perspective that it's so daunting and it's so overwhelming and it's so hard. And then you go in and you realize, oh, that was easier than I thought. And that's what we're seeing with our mastermind clients. Like, we did an AI training talking about this exact topic and why people need to be on top of it. And one person said, again, like, I'm not, somebody who's really good with this stuff. I said, great. This is a lot easier than you think. And the best part is AI can teach you how to use AI. So like, don't feel like this is something you have to kind of figure it on your own. And so as a result, what I had shared with them is avoiding AI is not a safe move for your business. Again, I'm not asking you to become an AI coach or ninja. It's more that if you are not learning in some way to integrate AI into your business, whether it is client facing or just behind the scenes, frankly, you are going to fall behind. And it hasn't gotten to such a place that if you started like today, that you're behind in this moment. You are at this critical point listening now to say, okay, great. I've really not been putting a lot of energy or time into it, but I am moving forward, really going to be focusing on this. This is a great pivotal time for you to say, I'm going to dedicate 2 hours a week. I'm going to dedicate, 2 hours on a Friday, half an hour each morning. Set aside that time, because AI is not replacing businesses. And this is something I also want to explain, because I think there's a lot of fear mongering around AI of like, you're doomed. We're all going under. And that's not true. Okay. AI is not like wiping out your business, it's changing the way your business operates. So I just was talking on Instagram actually about this article that I saw about how marketing agencies are getting hit because AI is doing things that they used to do manually much, much faster than they ever could. And if you are somebody that is, okay, like I'm worried about what AI looks like for my business, here's what I would tell you as a client. If you're an agency, you need to look at how you can leverage your strategic insights, not just the busy work. And the busy work means that if you are going to be using AI for your busy work, i.e., for your deliverables for clients, the competitive advantage to start is going to be able to offer more deliverables for the same price point because of the efficiency you've created. And that's because, truthfully, clients are asking this of you. They're saying, why am I paying the same, let's just say $2,000 a month for this service when I fully know that it's taking you like 2 hours to do this because of AI? Any critical thinking customer is going to eventually at some point here start to say, wait a second, I can do this with AI, that with AI, that with AI. What am I paying for? And there's going to be this curiosity that starts to happen. So you can be on the cutting edge of that by saying, I am going to provide even more deliverables because we are so efficient. The other way that you also can be leverageable in this is leveraging strategic insights that are not possible through AI. So there is, again, this lived experience, this expertise aspect that just cannot be duplicated in its current moment right now. So you want to be leveraging that and ensuring that's part of your service, not just we take this off your hands, we manage this for you. If your core promise as an agency is we take care of the busy work, you're probably 6 months away from feeling some serious resistance from your clients. On the contrast, the same thing is actually true when it comes to the coaching industry. So, just as I was mentioning with that program I'm part of, what we're seeing in coaching is if you are not teaching or helping your clients to leverage AI as a coach, it again is going to start to put some pressure on your business. So, even for myself, what I focused on as soon as I saw that AI was becoming a little bit more mainstream and not just a very like niche couple people who were nerding out on this, it became very present. I was like, hey, this is not like a choice to do it, it's an essential thing. My clients are either going to learn this from me or they're going to go somewhere to find this information. So, AI and coaching can help you to provide faster services, easier services to people, help them to take your frameworks and you can make those in AI and give those AI frameworks to your clients. There's a lot of creative ways that we can be using this. But again, the idea of like, I'm going to stick my head in the sand and I'm not going to be integrating this, if I was to be totally direct with you, it's just one of the fastest ways for you to dissolve your own business. And that's because this is no longer in this category of it being an option, it's a requirement. How fast you integrate it will, in my opinion, be the determining factor of the success you're going to have in the next 12 months within your business. So, we are seeing a shift. And how I look at this is layer one of integration of AI, automate the busy work. So we're talking scheduling, onboarding, reminders, call recordings, content repurposing is huge for this right now. And then you can also use the second layer, which is kind of amplifying delivery. So, like layer one of AI for you, automate all the busy work as much as you can to buy back your time. Two, helping to use AI to ask, how can we automate this for client delivery, not just for us internally? So I have, for example, an ads company that I work with. They basically, for all their ad retainers, the entire thing is managed by AI. Their team oversees the AI strategy that's happening. They basically monitor the robots, if you will, but they're not necessarily doing the stuff manually anymore. And that's because they recognize that we can take on a lot more clients and we can provide, frankly, a lot more service per client if we actually had these AI pieces integrated. The third, which I think is kind of the real leverage, is really protecting the human layer. And I think that it allows for anybody who is in a relationship-based business, which frankly, for most of us being service-based businesses, that's where we are. The relationship is something that really AI in this current moment can't touch. So if you are someone who has interfacing with clients, if you have meetings with clients, if again, you have this connection with them, you want to be really intentional about protecting that. And by having the busy work of your business and having your delivery streamlined with AI, what you're really doing is you're allowing your time to be in the bucket that AI simply cannot replace, which is the relationships and it is the personal insights. It is the time where your personal energy is most influential for your business and making sure that you have the time you need to pour into those spots wherever they may be. So I think over time, we're going to start to see that the thing people want is they're investing in people that are leveraging AI, that they also feel they connect with the individual who's running it. So, like, again, agencies, coaches, everybody is going to be integrating AI, but they're like, okay, if I have to interact with someone as part of this experience, who do I want to be interacting with? Who do I want the relationship with? Who do I want the connection with? And are you fueling that in your business? Or are you kind of just like, yeah, well, like we provide the service, clients don't care. At the end of the day, it actually is the thing that will make you the most replaceable. And that's because once AI for your industry catches up to being the button pusher instead of you, or being, the piece of integration instead of you, the real leverage is the human factor. So if you're ignoring the human factor now and your biggest thing is just integration, 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 What it means is when your integration is possible by AI, I have basically essentially removed the need for you to be involved. So I almost want you to see this as an opportunity to leverage the human factor, leverage relationships, leverage connection with your clients, leverage interfacing with people. It can be the difference factor of why people want to stay inside of your world. Now, what also kind of to piggyback on AI has happened is that with AI, how clients are finding you is also changing. So, AI powered search is something that is definitely taking off. We've done even here episodes about SEO, but the thing you need to be really considering is AEO. So, AEO, for anybody who's not familiar, is basically I would say, cousin to SEO, but it's powered through AI. So it's really a matter of how are we feeding AI to find you when people are looking. So if someone asks Claude or asks ChatGPT for a specific resource or a referral, if you are, let's just say, searching on AI and you say, this is my ideal client, this is how the stage of where they're at, this is the things that they want, and I want you to go find my top 5 competitors. Who it discovers is going to be based off of your AEO score. So as a side note, if anyone else wants to nerd out on this, you yourself actually right now can go to online sites. There's a lot of free ones that exist, and you can actually search your own AEO score. So this is really, again, like a grading tool of understanding right now what is your kind of current discovery within the online space. So if someone is searching, what is kind of your likeliness of showing up within their search? So a lot of factors impact AEO, but I think in the context of today, what would be most helpful for you is to understand AEO is going to pick up a lot of different things. There are definitely kind of like backlinks on different sites. There are also, which we're also seeing with social, a huge emphasis on YouTube actually, and YouTube Shorts, because YouTube Shorts and YouTube content are very SEO driven, meaning that YouTube's algorithm literally is structured based off of people searching for a topic and your videos coming up, even more so, frankly, than anything TikTok or Instagram does. And it's always been the way that their algorithm has been powered. So in this next phase of AI taking off and AI search taking off, meaning people are using AI for all their basic inquiries now, almost more sometimes than Google/Gemini. A lot of people are using Claude, they'll use ChatGPT, they will use these other platforms. And so the question is, are you coming up on them? And if you're not, what it means is as we move further and further toward people using AI to search for questions they have, search for resources, search for services, it means that if we know that that's somewhere that things are going, we know that's the direction that the path is leading, what are you doing to plant seeds to allow yourself to be discovered? And so, one of ours, full transparency, is that we are going to be leaning deeper into, phase 1 will be YouTube Shorts to really basically take all of our content and make sure that it can be mainly video moving forward, which I haven't done in the past. I've mainly been the static person who does pictures, carousels, things like that. But moving forward, we're really leveraging short form video. And that's because we recognize that YouTube specifically is going to be a great place to plant seeds to be discovered in the future of AI. And so it means that literally my mindset has always been watch the market, observe the pivot, and adjust yourself to the pivot, or recognize that you can become basically removed if you don't adjust. And even for myself, as I said, I've mainly been a static creator, meaning I mainly make carousels, pictures, text heavy pieces. It's not something I would say that I've always nerded out on being a video creator. I love the podcast, but other than that, that's my main source of video. And so what's been interesting is to see the surge of what is happening or what is being asked of people to pivot in their approach. And that's because people are adjusting so that your website is being discovered, your personal brand is being discovered. It's a reputation thing and it's a positioning thing. So what AEO is looking for is, yes, obviously your literal volume of mentions online, but what it's trying to do is it's trying to create a complete picture. It wants to know not only that you have a lot of presence online, it's using that as one factor, but it also wants to ensure that you are who you say you are. So it's looking for proof, it's looking for credential pieces to ensure that it can verify you as a trusted resource to recommend to users. So that's another piece you want to keep in mind is like consistency of your messaging, the amount of marketed credentials you have, the volume of how much you're putting out, or like basically the market share of your space on the internet. These are things we want to start thinking about. And again, I'm not saying this to you as in like, oh my God, like AEO is here. Like, what am I going to do? This is not you freaking out and throwing out your old strategy. What I want you to do is just take a second and ask, what are the seeds I'm planting today for the future I know exists tomorrow? That's the only question I want you to ask. And so again, like I'm not myself like toss out everything we were doing. We're doing everything different now. It's more, what do I need to adjust? What do I need to pivot? What are small incremental changes of things that I can plant seeds with that would really benefit me long term in being ahead of the curve in what I kind of know is inevitable when it comes to AI? So build your online presence. We want to look and make sure that we are specific enough and we are consistent enough for AI to recommend us. You want to build your reputation on multiple platforms. So we want to make sure there's easy reviews to find, there's mentions, there's third-party validation of your existence. So, for example, not just me having a podcast, but me being on other people's podcasts, not just me saying that I have great results, but other people saying we have great results. Like that's what we're really focused on and really wanting to make sure we have that footprint online. And again, remembering it is about clarity of who you are and credibility that backs up who you say you are. Now, I want to pivot to a different change we're seeing, and that is because I know this is something that you're feeling. And if you are experiencing what you can only put your finger on is like, something's different about my sales, something's different about the way people are buying or the speed at which they're buying, please let this be your validation that you're actually correct. The traditional funnel, as we once knew it, is really, frankly, dead. And that is because this idea of someone discovering you in your business, i.e., being attracted to you, nurturing through X amount of pieces, and then poof, they buy. That like really linear funnel that for many years was super effective and generated the outcomes that many people were looking for. It actually doesn't work in that process anymore. And that's because we really are going from people discovering you. And then I want you to think before it was like this pipeline of I would discover you, I would warm, and then I would convert. Now it's like they discover you and then they bop all over. They go to your YouTube video, they go to your podcast, they go to your download on your website, they scope your website, they go back to your social, they look at your reviews. They are bopping all over. There's like this like web of experience and then they convert. The funnel of how someone goes from discovery to conversion is not perfectly linear anymore. And so something that I'm seeing with a lot of the businesses that are winning right now is that they're recognizing that the nurture aspect of someone becoming a customer now and going from curious, I found you, to conversion, they recognize that the middle is an ecosystem. It's like a web, and they design their nurturing around that. They're not looking at these like perfectly linear funnels. They recognize there's like this maze that people go through in this ecosystem. And if we design that ecosystem with intention, we will get the sales that we're looking for. So I'm going to give you an example. When a funnel used to be like, I find you, I consume 5 posts, I message you, boom, I want to buy. Now it's someone finds you, let's just say on TikTok, and the TikTok that you put out is a podcast clip. So they go from the podcast clip on TikTok to consuming your podcast. And then on the podcast, you mention a resource that they can message you for on Instagram. So they go to your DMs on Instagram. Now they're consuming your Instagram feed and they message you for the resource. They consume the resource and they go, oh my God, this is exactly what I'm looking for. This is everything. And they go from that to booking a call. So you're like, okay, well, this is not like I put this video out, they messaged through TikTok, they bought. It's not that linear. We're seeing people who are working their way through your ecosystem with these multiple touch points. What we want to ensure is that if someone discovers you and you have this ecosystem that's designed to nurture, do you have a well-structured ecosystem? Meaning that no matter where they bop around and consume you, that it's all designed to bring them back to a home base, which is conversion. And if you have right now this kind of marketing nurturing system of they find me, they warm, they convert, what most people will find when they don't have that proper ecosystem developed is that sales are slower. You're going to have less ideal clients that you want to actually be working with. People might come through, but they're not really the people that you want to be working with. Or people come through and they are the people you want to be working with, but they are not pre-ready to go. Meaning, like if someone is watching one piece and it's like, I saw one piece of content and I'm ready to move. For most brands, when that happens, that's not usually the only piece they've ever consumed. It was the piece that got them over the finish line, but it was potentially the 8th piece or the 10th piece or the 15th piece of something they've consumed from you. So it's really important that we look at what is that ecosystem you're creating and how do you have that mapped out as a journey for somebody to take to bring them where we want to go. Because if you're expecting it's step 1, step 2, step 3 they buy, unfortunately, the funnel of that perfect linear funnel just does not exist anymore. So with this, in the same marketing vein, we're also seeing a big shift in the change and the shift of a launch model. And this is something that I would say launching was everything between like 2019, 2022, 2023, that era of like those probably I'd say 3-4 years, launching, everybody was launching. And it was a very profitable thing. It was a very successful way of marketing, no question. But we're seeing launching has changed since 2023. And I think the biggest thing that I would advise of why that is I think that there's been a lot of superficial, fake, truthfully not authentic promotion that's been happening. And the fake countdowns, the fake timers, the fake limited spots available, people are just not buying it anymore. And that's because there's been so many years of this fake urgency and this fake push that buyers are really hesitant to invest into those brands now. So with launches, people want to feel, number one, that the launch is actually authentic, i.e., there truly is limited spots, there truly is a limited time. They want to feel like it is honest and it is authentic. And with that, I'm seeing two things do really well right now. Number one, evergreen sales. Evergreen sales is something that I feel like people really love the idea of like, I have a problem and I can invest at the moment that I have it. The other thing I'm seeing, which is not necessarily a launch model, meaning you're not doing this like big multi-week campaign of like 3 weeks of like nurturing people, pre-sale, all of that. What I am seeing is what I would consider to not be a launch, but a cohort style model. Basically having structured enrollment periods that you're very transparent about, i.e., hey, we only enroll into our agency or into our offer program once a month. And you make that something that is noted and that it is shared with your audience as part of your model, less of a tactic that you're using to generate sales. And I think that that's really the most important thing here is, again, the authenticity connected to the marketing itself. Because the evergreen allows people to know like, hey, this is open. If we have spots available, you can join anytime you want, or you're put on a wait list, which is again, an authentic wait list because potentially you only open your offer once a month. There's a understanding with the audience of kind of what your structure is. Think about even a apparel company. There's a lot of activewear companies that will do things called drops, which are basically that they have like a short window where they launch a new line. It's available for a limited time. And if you don't get it then, it's gone and it won't be offered any longer. So when an audience knows that, when someone knows that this person's business model is literally designed around drops, it means that they recognize like, I'm going to need to buy these sweatpants now because if I don't buy them, they won't be available any longer. They literally won't be available for purchase. So when you market that to your audience and you've shared with them that we do drops, this is really the structure of how we do things, there's not this lack of trust there anymore. There's not this, oh, well, they're trying to, push a campaign on us or they're doing a launch. The company basically has said, listen, this is our model. This is what we have available. It is truly a 2-month window. If you don't buy it, you don't get it. And that's it. Like it kind of is an open and closed. When people are honest about that, the audience is able to make their decisions accordingly. Or even Evergreen, if it's open anytime, you can have your audience understanding that maybe it's like, we only have 20 spots in our program. It technically is open anytime. So as people leave, you can join. And when you do that, we just say, hey, we have 1 spot left or we have 2 spots left. And it's authentic because it's true. It's when we create these false narratives of scarcity, these false narratives of countdowns and timers and limited spots. And you're like, okay, Sarah said it was limited spots last Tuesday. And then now she's promoting the same offer 2 weeks later on Tuesday with 10 spots available. So I'm not sure what's happening here. That's what's killing brands. And that's what's killing people's sales, is that you may be integrating tactics or integrating approaches that you believe are something that you're like, great, this is showing scarcity. And it may, but it also may be showing it in a way that feels dishonest, and also in a way that your audience is picking up on is not actually real. And so it's really breaking trust over time every single time that you do it. The other thing I want to note is email. So I want to be very clear. Email is still very effective. So if you are someone who's not in this belief of like, oh, email is an old thing, it's not. I have a lot of clients that leverage email, weekly newsletters, 3 to 5 emails a week to their list. People still want emails, but I want to share some insights around email specifically. Open rates are not as easy as they once were. And that's because your ideal client is getting spammed with email. Think of yourself and how many emails you get. You've got so-and-so's story, and you've got like the promotion for the skincare you like that you're getting sent, and you're getting, email reminders of calendar invites and all these things as a business owner. Your email is getting stacked with notifications. And one of the things I think is important is we recognize email open rates are harder, but they are still happening. Okay. And I would say one of the best things I learned through coaching for myself was the fact that the open rate that someone is getting now is oftentimes less attributed to just the subject line. While it is a factor, it's less about just the subject line. It's actually more about the relationship to the sender. So like think for yourself right now, who's somebody that sends you emails all the time? And I want you to think for that person that you're thinking of, do you open their emails like every week? Or are you like, oh my God, I can't wait to see what they shared. I can't wait to see what they wrote about, or I can't wait to see the tips inside. If you in your head are like, ugh, Steve, he's always sending me emails. Or are you like, oh my God, Steve's email? Think about how you feel about the sender based on the emails that you get. And does this person spam you? Does it feel like they're helpful? Are you excited to get them? Are you annoyed when they show up? How do you feel about the sender before you even open it? That feeling is something you want to be very clear about as to how your audience feels about you. Because the correlation to the open rates is also connected to the relationship of the sender. Meaning, if you see my name in your inbox, how does it make you feel? If someone sees your name in their inbox, how do they feel receiving an email from you? Are they excited? Do they feel like they're connected to storytelling? They're valuable? Are they spammy? Are they promotion oriented? Do they feel tone deaf and it's like annoying follow-up after follow-up? Ask yourself what that relationship is, because that is just as important today to the subject line that you are sending that email with. So if you want to keep your open rates high, don't just focus on like, okay, the structure of the subject line. Also ensure that you're considering the context of the relationship of where you land with that person as a sender to their email. So this is also being seen with people becoming less likely to subscribe. People are protecting their emails now more than ever. They're asking themselves, and you may even ask yourself this now when you buy things or when you opt into something, you say like, do I want this person having my email? Do I want this person to be spamming me every week? There's this thing of like, oh, I don't want to put my email in. Or like, I feel like this when you go to like the grocery store and they ask you, yeah, like, can we just get your email? And I'm like, no, because I'm like, I really don't want more emails. Or when you sign up for something, I signed up for a gym today. And they'll say, can we send you newsletters and more marketing and promotional information? And I'm like, No, because I'm like, I don't want emails unless I feel like it's connected to something deep value wise. So it's also people are being more hesitant to provide emails and they're being more conscious of who they're giving them to and why they're giving them to them. Now, also kind of in the vein of the sales side here, okay? I want to talk a little bit about messaging based selling. I think messaging based selling, there's two things I'm seeing with sales, okay? Sales calls are still very much something that clients desire. I think that even with our own business, I've seen a real uptick in people that would love to be able to get on a call. And I think that again is because people are really in this lack of trust economy right now. They're in this place where they feel like they've been burned so many times. So when they're making a big investment, they really want to feel like they have trust with the person that they're able to invest with. So I think that's part of it. Some people also just like doing sales calls. Like I like sales calls. So because of that, like I don't see myself necessarily ever entirely removing them from my business. But there also is this other structure that's very, very popular right now, which is selling via chat. Now, selling via chat is not something that is new by any means. People have been doing this for years, but I think how we're doing it is a little bit different. So, there are what I'm seeing with a lot of different businesses, people who are reaching out in chat. They will have a discussion in chat and basically providing of a resource. Some people have it as kind of like a private sales page. Some people kind of have it as like a document basically that you send information of your offer. But people are buying directly from chat as high as $60,000, $70,000 investments for like multiple months of support are being sold to people through chat. Again, I think there's a couple of reasons why this is happening. People are really protective with their time. People don't want to feel like they're being put through a bunch of different motions in order to need to get the information they're looking for. So again, they like the transparency, they like the direct nature of the sales process. And I think, most importantly, what allows this to happen, if I'm going to be honest, is your marketing. If your marketing is not doing heavy lifting for you, you are always going to feel like your sales process needs a lot of TLC and a lot of time. And that's because typically the marketing that you're putting out hasn't pre-sold people. So it's why you're yourself needing to be the real sales driver behind a conversation. Because frankly, without that, they're not going to buy. And so that's something we're seeing. I would say there's still sales calls demand, no question. But I think also there is this interesting DM to resource in the DMs that's also converting very well. The other thing I would note is video is no longer the differentiator, it's the baseline. And I think that before, I kind of like I was saying, I'm making changes in my business. Before, I think video was something that we used to be able to say, oh, this person does a lot of video, this person does a lot of writing. And I think I always will attest to the fact that like you should lean into the thing that is your most dominant, meaning if you're a writer, you should be leaning into Substack. If you are someone who loves video, you should be leaning into YouTube, or you should lean into short form content, TikTok, podcasts, something that really showcases your skill. But I do think in some regard, there is kind of just almost this expectation of people wanting to see the person that they're investing with or to feel like they have that interaction. And we're seeing this with even larger brands that are huge companies or celebrity based brands where the celebrity themselves is doing like car videos or at home get ready with me videos and things like that. I don't personally feel like that is a surprise. I think there's this desire from consumers to feel like they're not just consuming mass marketing, that they're feeling they actually get a connection point with the business or the brand that they're investing with. So by no means, I want to be very clear, am I telling you to like go be a vlogger or like go become an influencer? You do it in a way that feels good for you. So like even for me with this podcast, I love doing these episodes and I love recording these. Definitely much more than I love recording like 75 TikTok videos. Like that's definitely not my flavor. But I recognize that video is something people expect. They want to feel like they really know who they're working with. They really know who they're investing into. And I think video is no longer something that was like, oh, that's their style versus my style. I do think it's inching much closer toward an expectation of most brands and most businesses. And again, doing it in a way that feels good to you. The other thing I also want to note is two things. I think that Substack is something that everyone should be keeping an eye on. I will say, of the businesses that I'm working with behind the scenes, Substack is definitely on the rise. Number one, incredible for building your email list. If you are someone who loves to write, you are going to love Substack. There are definitely features of short form writing on there as well as long form writing. Incredible way to also nurture an email list. There's a lot of different features from a writing perspective that can be great. But the real reason that I'm seeing a trend with it is because Substack, similar to when TikTok was around and TikTok was, kind of in its infancy, it felt like you could post a video and it could get seen by like 3 million people. We're kind of seeing that similar infancy in the platform with Substack right now, which is that Substack doesn't have a ton of users on it in comparison to the other major social platforms. So what it means for you is that the leverage you have by getting started today is at an all-time high. So you could easily get discovered, easily build community, easily find a way to like carve out your section of the market on Substack in a way that would have been much harder and will be much harder in the next, like, say, 3 to 4 years. So listen, I want to say all of us only have so much time. So I recognize you for like more content, more places, more platforms. But part of the reason I mention this is because, which is kind of the other piece of, a business risk that we're seeing, is I think the brands that are more platform diverse are actually the most resilient and frankly the best leveraged and set up for success for the future. So I think if you are like, I only have business on blank platform, I only have an audience on this platform, you are at a very high risk as a business. Like, think about the discussions that were happening with TikTok being banned. And even when the sale of TikTok happened, a lot of my clients who use TikTok instantly started to see shifts within their views, their reach, their visibility. And I don't think that's a surprise. When things change with platforms, the people who are using those as their core dominant place of business are also going to feel the domino of that. So I think for you, when you're looking at like, how do I protect my business with all these changes? I think it's looking at how can we get platform diverse and then recognizing you'll still have a dominant, but you want to plant seeds elsewhere. So even for me, having a podcast was a place of, yes, having a second platform, putting those onto YouTube Shorts, putting that onto TikTok, like having this ability to maybe not create organic content all those places, meaning I'm not creating multiple TikTok videos a day. I'm not creating, multiple posts on LinkedIn a day. Like, I'm not on every platform making organic posts. And I don't necessarily know that you have to be doing that either. And if you are feeling that way, recognize that typically most of the brands that are doing that have good sized teams behind them that assist with making that happen. So if you're somebody who really wants to add a level of like a baked in insurance policy for yourself, my recommendation would be just start taking content you have somewhere and put it somewhere else. So if you're making TikTok videos, put them on YouTube Shorts. If you have threads you're putting out, take that same structure of those short form pieces and add those to the notes on Substack. If you're doing email newsletters or you do blogs, take those blogs and reiterate those with a fresh perspective on Substack. Try to look at where you can just be really smart with repurposing. I think also, especially with the rise of AI, this has become easier than ever because AI can help you to execute that repurposing in a streamlined way that doesn't cause a lot of strain on you. And so, lastly, I'll note that I think I've always said this, but I think more than ever, it's literally more true now than ever before. When things are changing in marketing and sales with offers, AI, there's all these things moving. Here's one thing that will never change: referrals. Referrals are something that will never change with your business. If people love your product, if they love your service, if they love your program, they love your agency, they will scream it from the rooftops. And that is because they believe in you, they believe in your brand, and they believe in what you do to get results. And so one of the best forms of marketing that you can literally have is people who are out there in the streets saying, you got to work with so-and-so. This is the person you need to be working with. This is the person you got to hire. There is, again, a lack of trust people have. There's a lot of people on the market. There's a lot of ways people could go, and people want to feel like they're making the right next step. So I find referrals are something that Many are not leveraging, meaning that we're not leaning into asking for referrals. We don't have referral programs. We're not tracking our amount of referrals we're getting. And I think that it's a missed opportunity because there's so much noise right now. And even like I shared today, there's so many things that you can look at when it comes to marketing and sales and brand. And like, there just feel like there's this endless sea of opportunity. And in fact, there is. But one of the things that is a through line is that people want to work with people that get results and people want to work with people they can trust. And one of the fastest ways to have someone confident that you can get results and confident that they can trust you is to have somebody else say how great of the results were that you generated and to have them say, you got to work with so and so, which is shared trust. So I want to leave it as the last piece because I think with all of these aspects, there can be so much and it feels so overwhelming to be like, what do I do? And I think it's really about focusing on one piece at a time, taking a little bit of this information and saying, what can I do to plant a seed? Do not overhaul your entire business and trash it to the ground and rebuild it. That's not necessary. What you need to do is say, I'm going to pick two of these things. I'm going to double down on referrals. I'm going to start to become platform diverse. Or I feel like I don't really have my positioning nailed, so I'm going to focus on that. Or I feel like I don't necessarily have a good understanding of AI. So my next action item is I'm going to put 3 hours a week to playing with AI. What I really want you to focus on is just a bite by bite perspective. Don't overwhelm yourself. It can be with topics like this, and which is why I really preface this as like the most important instruction for you. It can feel daunting. It can feel like, oh my gosh, like how am I going to survive? I get it. Like I've had clients who felt that way. Even I felt that way when AI came out. I was like, what the heck does this mean? Like it was so overwhelming. But then I rooted into, okay, it's only overwhelming if I'm doing nothing about it. So what is the first, second, third thing that I can do? And that's what I'm going to focus on, because if I try to do all of it, I'm going to do none of it. And it's because it's just going to be too overwhelming. And you're also going to be too scattered. So what I would love as almost like a homework piece for you is to take one thing, two things, max, 3 things that I've shared between today and last week's episode of the changes that are happening in the online space. And I want you to put those on a sticky note, okay? I want you to ideally have one of those BAI would be my ideal recommendation or prescription for you. But if you could have one of those BAI and pick 2 others, put that on a sticky note and put that on your laptop. Put it on the side of your monitor, put it in front of you when you're working, put it on your desk, and understand that that's just seeds you're planting, and check in each week and say, how am I doing with those 3 buckets? Let's just say it's AI, focusing on your differentiator, what makes you different, and increasing referrals, let's just say. If those were the 3 that you feel like you really want to double down on, all I want you to do is just have awareness of those things and check in on them every single week. Every Friday, every Monday, did I dedicate time to AI? Do I feel like I planted some marketing that shows how I'm different? And do I feel like I got referrals this week? Or did I set an intention to get more referrals next week or next month? This is where I would say you're going to win versus those who are like, okay, we're going to start on Substack. We're going to become a YouTuber. We're going to start doing vlogs. Like that is not, it's not going to work. And I can tell you as someone who has the classic squirrel's brain and also has the constant desire to do everything and be everywhere and be all things at one time, you can't do it. It's not possible. And you're going to get burnt out and frustrated with yourself in the process of trying to achieve it. So that is your homework. With these last 2 episodes, I know a topic that many can feel, what does this mean for me? What do you recommend? And so I want to just offer a full give. If you are somebody who is listening to this and you feel like you want my advice, shoot me a message on Instagram. Say, hey, Kate, I listened to the Online Space Changes episodes and here's some questions that I have. My DMs are open. I will give you my honest, direct feedback and advice as to what I see for you and what specifically are some things I might consider. I know that this can feel like a weird time with so many things adapting, but I also want you to know this is what you signed up for. You became an entrepreneur because you were ready to ride the roller coaster of the ups, the downs, the loops, the everything in between. And so this is just one of those loops that maybe you haven't felt in a little while. And I want to use this as an opportunity for you to realize you can and will handle this. You can and will survive the changes as long as you are making the crucial steps to start to plant seeds. And so if you're feeling a little bit frozen, if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, or if you're feeling even a little bit nervous, maybe scared, maybe you're excited, there's a mix of emotions that can happen in these times, and you want some support with it, just shoot me a message. I'm happy to give you my unfiltered advice. There's no offer, there's no pitch. You know where to find me if you want to work with me. It's not about that. I want you to feel like you have a grounding aspect of advice for you to take a next step with. So if I can help you in any way, you know where to find me. Shoot me a message in DMs. I would be happy to chat with you and give you my insights for you. But with all that being said, I hope today was helpful for you and that you took some good notes. And with that, I, again, want you to remember sticky note, 3 core pillars max, if not 2, even better, and focus on that for the next 30 to 60 days. And I think you will be in a great spot to prep yourself for what are the changes to come and how things can be shifting inside of your space. So with that being said, we'll see you on next week's episode. And as always, stay ambitious.